Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today I'm going to show you how to apply laminate to your countertop. Now, building your countertop, pretty simple to do. This one happens to be particle board. I like the particle board. It's 5/8 and then I just added another 5/8, so now we're 1 1/4. And we're going to apply this laminate, which happens to have been laying around for quite a long time, so it's a bit of a struggle to put it on. It likes to stay curled up, but still it works. And then we're going to edge it with the T-molding. Now the T-molding is something that you just don't see very often. You're starting to see it more and more. I really quite like the finish, and it's just a vinyl T-mold. Pretty simple. So on this one, this particular one, we are going to have a 90-degree corner over here, and we've got a rounded corner over here. And in this particular case, for the table saw, this goes up against the saw, so I'm actually going to put a piece of laminate over here, and then T-mold the rest. So we've got to do a 90 with the T-mold, and then we're going to do a corner with the T-mold. So hopefully there's enough here that you're going to learn to be able to, not be afraid to do it yourself. This stuff is available. I got this from my wholesaler, but it's available on eBay, different sizes, different colors, and you can really do some nice stuff with it. So that's why I want to bring you this video, because I just couldn't really find too much on applying this T-mold. It's a bit of a pain, but I think it's worth it. Anyway, let's get back to get going on this top over here. I'll get rid of this and then we can get started. Now there's a couple options here when it comes to the glue that you're using. Now, I've always found that the solvent-based glue sticks a lot better. It dries quicker. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's easier to use, but I really prefer it to the water-based. And if you're in a situation where you got a lot of ventilation, that's okay. If you're doing this in a house or in the basement and you really don't like the smell of this stuff, then go with the water-based. But when it comes out of the can like this, like you can buy 5 gallons and it's ready to go in your spray gun, but for a little job like this you don't need 5 gallons. So I needed to figure out how to thin this down, and you can buy a thinner for it. I know that the manufacturer doesn't really recommend that you thin it down, but I've done it and it still works beautifully, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So I've thinned it down, maybe 15%, and I just bought a cheap gun. Went to the store, I paid, I don't know, 69 bucks for this, but it's got a fairly large tip on it. So this is made for using thick primers and things like that. And you know what? It does the job. I don't know if it's the magic solution, but it really works for me, and for a DIYer that is tired of trying to roll this stuff on, there's a good option. Anyway, let's get at her. We're going to glue this on over here. Like I said before, this is for table saw. So this is going to go up against the table saw. I don't really want to waste a piece of T-trim on that because you're not going to see it. And we got to show you how to do the edge too. Okay, let's get at it. Alright, I got the gun set up. Now I've got it set so that, I'm not pulling the trigger all the way back. And you're going to have to play with it. Your gun is going to be a little different than this one if you choose to go this route. But I find it atomizes a little bit more if I don't pull the trigger back so much and allow so much to come out. That makes sense. Now on the edge here, we're going to give it double coat because it really absorbs the glue here. Once we're dry to the touch here, takes about, I don't know, depending on, of course, you know, how hot it is. It could take 2 minutes, it could take 10 minutes. Basically, line her up. Like I do like to have a little bit on each, you know, an overhang, a nice overhang. Doesn't really matter. Then I'll just get my roller. There it is. Roller on. Okay, looking good. She is on there and on there good. Time to trim it. Now I'm just using my little trim router here. And I've actually got a little, this is actually a bit for laminate. It does not have a ball bearing. But, you know, if your flush trim bit has a ball bearing, that works just the same. And will do just as good a job. It's a lot messier job than you think it is. Alright, on the top, I'm just going to use a sanding block just to make sure that we're good to go. Of course, I'm sanding this way. I don't want to sand this way in case it catches the edge and pulls it off. Yeah, feels pretty good. Time to glue this laminate on. Now I've blown it off. Make sure you just run your hand along just to make sure you don't feel any dust. You know, there's a little piece of thread. Probably came off of my new jacket here. Yeah, you want to wear your old stuff when you're doing this. You don't want to get glue all over everything. Alright. Let's spray her down. Okay, the glue's all set up. Now you just want it to dry to the touch. You don't want to let it sit all night. It's not going to work very well for you. But I'm going to put it down a couple of broomsticks here, a piece of transition. Now avoid, you might have some leftover particle board. Avoid using that because the corners could chip off and then you leave a little high spot in your laminate. Now, what else do I have here? I think that'll work. Just want to go maybe on a bit of an angle. Change that one for that one. Just because my laminate is kind of bending the other way. I'm pretty impressed on how even I got the spray. Now, you might think it looks a little heavy or blotchy or whatever, but it flattens out a little bit when it dries. So I'm really happy with using the gun, thinning it down, because it just makes the job funner. It's not much fun rolling on glue, let me tell you. Okay, I'm overhanging over here. I'm overhanging over here. Not much over here. Looks good. Now we just take our roller, start in the middle, work our way out. Alright, doing the routing on that is pretty basic, but we have laminate on the sides here, and one of the tricks, like if you've ever done a lot of laminate, every once in a while, if you slow down, you're going to put a burn mark in there. To prevent that, put a little bit of cooking spray on it, and that will eliminate any of those issues. Put a little lube on it, that bearing will float right along, no burn. So here's my thinking. I'm going to use T-molding. Like it'd be easy just to put, you know, the laminate all the way across. But I want something a little bit more durable, so I'm going to use this vinyl T-molding. Now it's basically just a molding with a T in it. So we've got to cut a slot all the way around. And we're going to use a slot cutter on the router for that. Needs to be 332. Now, this stuff here, I found the best way to cut it. I just use my, this is just a PEX cutter, you know, your water lines in your house. And you can get it really nice and straight. Give it a little shot. And it works pretty nice. Anyway, that's how I cut it. But on this table, put that in my sawdust pile, we have a square corner, but I still want to use this. So here's my square corner right here. And you've got to cut this stuff on a 45. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we got the rounded corner here. And when you're going around a corner, basically you just cut a couple of small little V's so that your little lip here is going to bend a little easier. And it wraps around the corner just beautifully. So let's get started with this 45 right here. And well, I'll show you what I'm going to do. So this is my little jig here. I've been playing around, of course, you know, to make sure that I get my slot in the right spot. You're going to have something sacrificial, you know, build an extra piece so that you can cut a slot, try it out, make sure you're nice and flush on the top. And that takes a little bit of messing around, but once you got it, you got it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this T-mold in here. I'm going to have to pound it in, but I will. I'll pound it in, and then basically I'm going to have it hanging over just a little bit there. Put that in my chop saw. I'm going to cut that out of 45. But this has to be in all the way. Like it has to be flat. You can't have this curved or anything like that because it won't cut the proper 45. So let's do that and we'll get this cut and then we can start, we'll get our groove cut and we're just about finished here. Okay, let's get going. Okay, we've got the slot cutter, and I gotta just emphasize this is going to take all of your routering skills to cut this groove. It's one of the hardest things to do with a router if you haven't, you know, if you're not using a router table, because you know our tendency is to, you know, we've only got so much on our base here. You could put a little larger base on so that, you know, you're a little flatter here. But you got to keep pressure down because you don't want to tip this router one way or another. And then we go through, we're usually done, we usually like to pull up. That'd be a major. So be careful about what you're doing. And just take your time. Now this one here cuts 1/2 inch deep. I'm only going to cut a little bit at a time. I'm not going to take the whole swipe one shot. That puts a lot of pressure on that bit, and this is a small little cutting bit. So I am just going to take my time. All right. Wish me luck. Oh yeah. If you're wondering how, you know, I don't have a jig or anything to cut corners. I just use a spray cap, jigsaw, and then I just use a block, sand it out. This is the most stressful part of the whole job, putting this groove in. Alright, to pound this in, I'm just using my body hammer. You can use your rubber mallet. Something smooth so you're not going to mar this. And you always want to start on your 45. So we will just get this fairly close. Well, that looks good. And then you just continue on. Take your time. Doesn't go in. Just gotta get it started in that groove. That's the key. And you just pound it in. Corner now, so we'll just pick a spot where we want to put a little bit of a V in there. And I'll just use my little side cutters I got, and they work perfect. Right about there, I think. This stuff will probably make it all the way around without having to do this, but might as well. Last thing you want it to do is come undone on you. Then when you get to the end, you just cut her off. Cut a little long first, because then you can just peel it off nice and easy. Just like that. Well, we got her done. I really like the look of the T-molding, kind of gives it a factory look. And it's not hard to put in, you've got to be patient with it, you know, you can't bind it up just a little bit at a time. And like everything else, a little patience, everything works out. Looks good. So I hope you got a couple tips, you know, for doing this, and don't be afraid to do it yourself. It's pretty expensive, you know, if you're gonna go out and get a tabletop made, and if you got any skills whatsoever and a couple tools, you can do this. All right, I've got some in the future here. I've got to build a round one. I'm going to show you how I do that, and that's going to be interesting. Fun though. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.